The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, smoke takes over BC skies.
Former leader of the BC Greens speaks on climate change.
And fall festivities are adapting to COVID-19 protocols.
Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Leda, Omid.
And I'm James O'Hara. Let's start with smoke.
Many people waiting for their day in court were put on hold after the devastating fire on New Westminster's waterfront closed the BC Supreme Court. My co-anchor James O'Hara explains why this delay hit so hard.
New Westminster Supreme Court is back in business, but it's feeling the impact as it closed its doors for several days in mid-September.
On the litigation side, the impact has been monumental, right? So courts were essentially shut down. This means that all trials were adjourned.
The closure was caused after a huge fire along the city's waterfront pier created toxic smoke and hazardous air quality. This was the second time the courts have had to close in 2020. In March, all regular operations were suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. Experts say this has further delayed proceedings to an already backed-up justice system.
Now they're being rescheduled, but lawyers' calendars and the court calendar just can't withstand all of this rescheduling. So things in some cases are being rescheduled for like years down the line.
One lawyer waited for several days in a local hotel because his trial was put on hold. The delay has resulted in uncertainty moving forward.
They're giving us 7 days, not 10, so we might not finish. So because of the delay, we lost 3 days. So that's a concern. We'll just have to play it out. If we don't finish next Friday, it's off for many months.
Gavin Reddy was supposed to be in court that week.
My son-in-law sent me email. I was supposed to come in the courthouse here, and nobody answered the phone. And then I looked at it in his email. It's a big fire.
After 4 days, some court proceedings resumed in the New Westminster Supreme Court, but lawyers say many could end up adjourned indefinitely due to the fire. James O'Hara in New Westminster for BCIT Magazine.
The New Westminster Pier fire has also hit local businesses particularly hard. Reporter Anthony Correa explains.
Jessica Brown owns the Refill Stop, a 5-minute walk from Pier Park in New Westminster that sells environmentally friendly body care products, at least until the New West fire happened.
The day after, I made the decision to shut the store for the day.
The recent fire that gutted New West Pier Park also gutted her business, seeing her lose up to 25% of sales because of the toxic smoke around the downtown area.
And it was really like a blow right to the gut, or right to the heart. I mean,
Arnold Smith, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce in New West, says the fire was devastating for the city, and that the smoke could be a problem for local businesses.
Everybody's essentially avoiding the entire downtown area right now. It's kind of, many of the businesses have reopened, but it's still pretty, it's not super inviting. So it's really tough time for them right now.
Jessica Brown has now switched to delivery to make up for her lost funds, as the air quality continues to get worse with the blaze not being fully extinguished.
I know some small businesses who are, some of them still 3 days later aren't open because health-wise they're affected by it and just can't open up today.
I'm Anthony Correa in New Westminster for BCIT Magazine.
We now go live to Anthony Correa. Anthony, what does the future look like for the area?
Well, James, the fire has been finally put out after burning for 13 straight days, and the New West Council has pledged to rebuild the pier. However, it will take a lot of time and money from upper levels of government to make that happen, so I don't expect the pier to be open to the public anytime soon.
This month, dangerous air quality caused by U.S. forest fires has forced many people inside, but one athlete is finding new ways to cope. Rhea Santos has more.
44-year-old Richmond mom Jamie Pizarro has done 19 marathons in her lifetime. She goes out to bike and run 6 times a week despite the pandemic.
I think one word to describe it is bliss.
She was unstoppable until a thick haze covered the sky.
A bit depressing the first day because the way we dealt with COVID was that, okay, we can't go to the gym, but then at least we can still go outside for mental health and for fresh air.
COVID prepared her for situations like these. She has her trainer bike set up at home, weights and elastic bands within reach. For several days this month, Vancouver was second only to Portland, USA for having the most polluted air quality. It's due to devastating wildfires in Washington, Oregon and California that have reduced several communities to ashes.
Yes, the fine particulate matter, or called PM 2.5. These are the very tiny particles that you could inhale deep into your lungs and start what you call inflammation. So if you have an existing heart or lung condition, it can exacerbate your
It's not the best time to stay outdoors, and it's taking a toll on some.
Damn, I'm kind of getting headaches. What's going on? And then I realize it's because the air quality is so bad.
Just kind of feel heavy because we're all dealing with COVID.
Giving up is not human nature. Human nature is to keep battling through the good times and the bad times. So,
medical experts strongly suggest the continuous use of non-medical masks and reminds everyone that skies will eventually clear, but we should continue wearing one because the fight against COVID isn't over.
Jamie has adapted to changes and will continue to do so when needed. She's still unstoppable. And while she's stuck indoors, she's training for something that is important nowadays.
Staying indoors teaches you also to be more resilient, I guess, to toughen you up a bit. But, you know, only for a while.
Rhea Santos in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
Former MLA and leader of the BC Green Party, Andrew Weaver, sat down with reporter Brittany Roffel to discuss the effects of climate change.
So joining me for a conversation about climate change is Dr. Andrew Weaver. He's not only the former leader of BC's Green Party, but he's also a leading researcher in climate change. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So in the last few years, there have been increase in wildfires across the world. How much of an impact does climate change have on these wildfires?
No question that the increased occurrence and the greater extent that these wildfires are taking in the regions that they're occurring is a direct consequence of climate change. Look, we've been saying the same thing for years. So, you know, look around, expect more of it, and bigger and worse as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. What can be done to prevent these?
You reduce greenhouse gases, period. That's the single, I mean, everything else is, you know, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
So we've seen, obviously, the air quality has decreased in BC over the last couple weeks. Will the air quality continue to affect the climate then?
Quality is a different issue from climate change. So there's no question that the kind of air quality issues we've seen now, you could expect more of and to a greater extent in the years ahead. Particularly in places like Metro Vancouver, where you have summertime inversions or fall inversions all the time.
Where do you see us in the next 5 to 10 years?
I see COVID as being a bit of a turning point. I see 5 to 10 years. I see, you know, us beginning to realize, coming together as a world, that this is a problem we can deal with. So let's do it, and let's do it in a manner that recognizes the opportunity that every environmental challenge creates itself, and focus on that. So I'm quite optimistic.
Thank you.
And your generation gives me hope, right? Because you guys aren't going to stand for it. So.
No, we want to make a difference.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for doing this.
I'm Brittany Roffel for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up after the break, international students are feeling the burden of COVID-19.
And smoke from recent forest fires has moved workout junkies indoors.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. Many international students feel left in the dark financially by the federal government during COVID-19. Aylin Molnar reports how it affects not only students, but also the community.
Serena Musavi is calling her mother in Shiraz and feels neglected by Canada, the country that she has called home for over 2 years, because she is not eligible for the same COVID benefits as domestic students.
We shouldn't be treated like foreigners or other people.
Serena studies computer systems technology at Vancouver Community College. COVID-19 limited her job opportunities, which, without the help of her Canadian custodian, would have led to her dropping out and returning to Iran.
I mean, returning back to my country would be basically an end of my dreams, because I want to study and be a best version of myself.
The BC Federation of Students says financial struggles for students like Serena can affect everyone in the long run.
If things become too expensive here, they're able to leave. That takes their money out of not just institutions, but also communities. International students work, they volunteer, they contribute to our communities.
To give you an example, only 20% of enrolled students in BC's post-secondary institutions is international. Yet, they make up almost 50% of all tuition fee revenue. Serena hopes international students will soon get the same federal emergency benefits as domestic students.
Like about 90% of this government, this country is immigrants, and basically we're part of this immigration community. Yeah.
Aylin Molnar in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Aylin Molnar joins us now. Aylin, what can the BC Federation of Students do for other students like Serena at this point?
Well, Leda, right now the Federation's focus is mainly directed towards the provincial government. They want to make sure that the government realizes not only the cultural and financial struggles that international students are going through, but also how important these students are for BC's economy. Back to you.
Many fitness groups have moved exercising outdoors since COVID-19 hit. But as the air quality worsened in recent weeks, they were forced back inside. My co-anchor, Leda Omid, has the details.
So you're reaching through at the bottom, through underneath.
Outdoor workout groups were forced to take their classes onto Zoom because Vancouver had the worst air quality in the world for 10 days.
I felt good about it. I mean, I think it's a really good option. I think it works really well for a lot of people also. I mean, there's the social aspect in being outside, but I think over winter it'll be a natural progression that people will want to stay inside, so it was a kind of a nice way to introduce Zoom as a new platform. Hips up.
Although shifting to a new platform wasn't easy for Riley's current business plan, as some people had lost motivation to exercise online.
I actually didn't have anybody really want to do the Zoom that normally does the outdoor workouts, which always surprises me because really it's kind of the same thing, but there's something about actually coming here physically and being around other people, and people are in the routine of that.
Thankfully, the smoke cleared after a couple of rainy days and Riley was able to hold her outdoor workouts again.
That workout was great. It's so good to be back. It's we had a couple weeks off, and then we had the week off last week for the air quality. So for most of us, we had at least 2 weeks off, and it just felt so nice to be out in the fresh air and close to nature and sweating.
Many are happy to be back to exercising outdoors again, but we will see the Zoom workouts return during the cold and wet winter months. I'm Leda Omid in Port Moody for BCIT Magazine. COVID-19 has impacted most aspects of daily life, including this upcoming season for athletes. Madison McKenzie has more on this story.
With everybody going back to school and work, cheerleaders are back to practice with competition season just around the corner, even during the pandemic.
After 4 months out of the gym, the athletes at Infinity Cheer Elite are excited to be back for the season. With masks worn half the time, practice looks a little different now.
I'm really happy to be back at the gym and to see all my teammates and my coaches. The gym has some really good policies and different procedures that we have in place.
The policies that were put in place by Via Sport are for every cheer gym that has decided to reopen. Some of the new rules include staying 6 feet apart whenever possible, wearing masks while stunting and tumbling, and sanitizing each area of the gym as students and athletes is done using the equipment.
In a 3-phase plan that was put in by Via Sport, you have to go through 3 weeks of stunting with only 5 members in each stunt group. Once those 3 weeks are up, if you haven't had any new cases, you get to move into the next phase. And phase 2 is pretty much back to almost normal practices of what we were used to. Phase 3 means we actually can go and do competitions.
The new rules aren't the only thing that's changed for athletes this year.
A really big team aspect of bonding and friendship and the social aspect of cheerleading that I think all the girls are really missing. Obviously having to be 6 feet apart and not being able to kind of just run up and hug that friend when you want to has been really tough, and same with the athletes wanting to come in and say hi, give a high five when they get a new skill.
While the athletes are working hard for competition this season, the Cheerleading Association is working hard to make sure that can still happen. With hundreds of athletes competing from all different places, BCCA is working out a plan to keep everyone safe while still doing what they are working towards. While the first month of competing will be local, they are moving towards bigger competitions with out-of-province teams coming in. If these teams do decide to compete, they must self-isolate before and after competing. Madison, Mackenzie, and Langley for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up after the break, a Vancouver woman cleans up COVID-related trash.
And fall activities continue despite COVID-19.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Oh hey, I didn't see you there. Welcome to your fall community calendar at BCIT. I'm Rachel Adams.
And I'm Victor Robichaud. Things might look different this year with COVID-19 restrictions, but that doesn't mean we don't have a great lineup of events here in the Lower Mainland. Rachel, I'll toss it over to you.
Do you want to get out and learn about the community while still staying safe and socially distant? We'll head downtown for Vancouver's Really Gay History Tour. Learn about the trials and triumphs of the heroes of the past in the LGBTQ+ community every Sunday at 10 o'clock. Heads up, Victor.
Whoa! Visit local artists and designers at the Portobello West Fall Outdoor Market. The market will have plenty of arts, jewelry, clothes, and more. The event will be held rain or shine, so dress appropriately.
Hey, watch it over here. Do you love movies but don't want to leave home plate? The Vancouver International Film Festival is launching a new streaming program so you can watch all the content without leaving the comfort of your own couch. Just watch out for foul balls. Batter up.
That was your fall community calendar. I think we hit this one out of the park.
Remember to have fun and stay safe out there.
Welcome back. You're watching BCIT Magazine. A Vancouver resident has volunteered to clean up Sunset Beach after noticing an increase in COVID-related trash. Santiago Silva has more on this story.
27-year-old Charlene Crucell is spending her day on the beach, but sunbathing is not her objective.
You can pretty much go all the way into like the Stanley Park seawall sort of thing.
She is leading a group of friends to get rid of the junk left on the shore.
Yeah, I just think I watched enough and I was just like, enough, like I just want to do it.
Aside from the usual suspects, gloves and masks have also made it onto our shores.
And since COVID started, there's been masks everywhere. And more garbage, I feel like.
Crucell has decided to start her own cleanup project to maintain Vancouver beaches and parks clean. although at first she wasn't sure it would happen.
Like, I don't feel comfortable picking up someone's mask because I don't know, you know? It's not super safe, I feel. So I wanted to be prepared and be able to pick up a mask without like feeling like I'm touching someone's germs.
But it didn't stop her from taking action. Her first stop, Sunset Beach.
Everybody goes to the beach here. It's a very popular thing to do. And when you go to the beach, like if you look around and you see garbage everywhere, like it dampens your mood.
And she's not the only one. Great Canadian Shoreline Cleanup members have also noticed more protective clothing along the beach.
That's something that we've never seen on the shorelines before prior to this year. So we're actually working to create a new cleanup litter data card that will include these personal protective items.
Wakeling also says the amount of trash has increased since the pandemic started.
So in 2019, our volunteers collected in this time period around 3 kilograms per person on average, and this year they've collected around 10 kilograms.
That's why Wakeling is glad to see someone helping keep beaches clean, and so is Crucell.
I'm really happy that everyone is here today. I would like more people to come.
Crucell is planning to make this a monthly event, but for now, she'll keep Sunset Beach clean one can at a time. Santiago Silva in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Can you see our cabbage?
Summer farmers markets come to a close soon. Ethan Johannes explains how COVID-19 has changed this essential service.
At Mount Pleasant Farmers Market, buskers play for the line of shoppers with regulations in place. COVID-19 has restrictions on farmers markets in Vancouver. No sampling, restricted number of shoppers, no entertainment, and social distancing enforced. Laura Gibson is the director of this market and is keeping it as safe and welcoming as possible.
We've had to space it out a little bit more. We've had to close off the sides. And then we kind of allow a certain number of people in at a time and make sure everybody's social distancing. It's working well here so far. Another thing we've done is we've set up a little barricade in the middle so people make sure that all the vendors are covered, like people visit all the vendors. But that's about it. We have lots of little wash stations, and for the most part it's working.
Local vendors rely on consumer interactions at farmers markets. Less vendors and shoppers have meant these small businesses have to work that much harder to get their products to customers. Kyle and Emily, owners of Living Tree Foods, are no different.
It's definitely more subdued than other farmers markets I've been to. A lot more space, just kind of more of a dead energy than other ones I've been to.
Way less vendors than years past. Like we did the Ladner market last weekend, and there's usually like 150, maybe 180 vendors, and I think they're capped at 115, which is still good, but a lot smaller than they normally are.
The people who run the markets have been really good. They've been really enforcing the social distancing rules and whatnot, of people lining up at booths. So they've taken on a lot of the burden as well. So.
At Mount Pleasant Farmers Market in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine, I'm Ethan Johannes.
Maple Ridge's Leisure Center is reopening its newly renovated pool. It has been closed for months due to COVID-19. Clayton Whitelaw has more.
This is the $12 million pool that most Maple Ridge residents have yet to see. One of the oldest leisure pools in Canada closed in March 2018 for renovations to help bring the 40-year-old aquatic centre up to date. While the pool opened in February this year, it only lasted 6 weeks before being forced to close due to COVID-19. Many Maple Ridge residents are excited for the centre to reopen its pool, and probably none more than the Haney Seahorse Swim Club, who call the centre their home.
They're excited to get back into the water. They know that it's going to be different. And we've spent a lot of time developing our safety plan to ensure that they are doing this in a safe way.
Firth noted how difficult the summer was for the club, with the uncertainty causing some swimmers to drop out or forego registering at all. While the club will be among the first back into the pools, there is plenty for the public to be excited about as well. Larger, redesigned leisure pool and hot tubs, as well as a brand new vortex pool.
A vortex is now included. It's moving water, and it has aspects to help with rehabilitation, strength training, but also just fun.
Both the leisure pool and hot tub also feature new ramps and beach-style entrances to make the pool more accessible for everyone. Other changes that aren't visible to swimmers are the plumbing and chlorination systems.
We had gas chlorine for 38 years and has been changed to a UV and a liquid chlorine disinfection process.
Due to COVID-19, the Leisure Centre will be gradually reopening its aquatics facility by reservation only starting on September 28th. They'll be working with provincial health authorities as well as closely monitoring the health and safety situation of its swimmers in order to ensure a safe and successful relaunch. Clayton Whitelaw in Maple Ridge for BCIT Magazine.
COVID-19 has forced many events to cancel, but a Surrey farm has found a new way to transform their annual Scarecrow Festival to continue fall traditions. Camila Nash has the details.
From pumpkins to ice cream and superheroes to princesses, Arts Nursery's 6th annual Halloween festival has returned with some small changes. Gone are the food trucks, hay rides, and even the Scarecrow building station.
So you could buy a kit, but you made it here at the nursery. So you would, glue on the face on the burlap head, and we'd have staff helping to put it together with you, and you would stuff your Scarecrow and go home and take it home. This year we can't do that.
COVID-19 restrictions forced Rebecca and her team to transform the festival into a Scarecrow stroll, allowing visitors to walk through the 10-acre yard while still social distancing.
Although if it does get busy, we have measures in place that we can limit the people. We have sanitation in and out of it.
To continue traditions, a charity group called the Versatiles helped Rebecca make Scarecrow kits for kids to take home.
We've made over 150 and we're down to the last 6. So we have to make some more because we're supposed to keep doing this until October 31st.
The kits are sold for $15 to $25, and the money goes towards 3 charity groups: the Versatiles, OWL, and the Inclusion Langley Society.
Say thank you.
Usually the Arts Nursery would expect over 1,000 visitors each day, but Rebecca says it's hard to estimate this year's numbers with COVID.
We've always wanted people to walk throughout the nursery, see all the scarecrows, and we encourage that with a scavenger hunt.
The festival, featuring over 50 different scarecrows, operates daily from 9 to 6 until Halloween. Camila Nash in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
Thanks for watching BCIT Magazine. I'm James O'Hara.
And I'm Leda Omid. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.